more than 99% of the MLB employees have not been infected by the virus yet.
Yeah.
That means this virus has a long way to go. Here we are 2 months into this lockdown. Everybody's just had it. The economy is down 4 or 5%. 14% of Americans are unemployed. People have had it. And if we end the lockdown, whether we end the lockdown or not, this virus has a long way to go. Is that true?
That's absolutely true. I mean, the epidemic is very far from over. The lockdown, as I said, from in the MLB evidence and other places, has successfully slowed the spread of it. But that means that once we lift it, it's going to spread. And now people talk about second waves. I mean, we don't know if the virus is seasonal or not. The second wave is the idea is it's premised on that maybe it's seasonal. So in the summer it'll slow down in the spread just by itself. But it might not. I mean, it might just start growing after we lift the lockdowns. That is, I think, the main argument in favor of a lockdown.
As I say, we've been locked down for a couple of months now, and in my own mind, I'm still unclear what our leaders, Donald Trump, Andrew Cuomo, or our own Governor Gavin Newsom, what the rationale for the lockdown was and what it is now. There seem to be two rationales. One is we make sure that our medical facilities don't get overwhelmed. That is to say, people don't, this was the concern at the very beginning, that emergency rooms would be swamped. We'd have people choking to death in hallways because there weren't enough ventilators and so forth. That's over. I think there may have been a couple of hospitals in New York, I believe the Bronx and the Queens, where for a while, but even then it only lasted a week or 10 days, the medical facilities really were under pressure. But even in New York, they didn't use the overflow capacity in the Javits Center. The hospital ship wasn't used. So if the purpose of the lockdown was to make sure we didn't overwhelm our medical facilities, it's done. We succeeded, right?
No, that is correct. In fact, we have quite the opposite problem now, that there are hospital systems around the country that are going bankrupt because they had to shut down elective surgeries, all kinds of other services that they normally provide. And in fact, a lot of the money, or a large chunk of the money that's been on the bailout is going to hospital systems, actually, just to make sure that we still have hospitals left in this country after the lockdown.
All right. And the other rationale, which I guess the politicians who make this argument or imply this argument just don't know any better. The other rationale is we're going to keep you all locked up until we get this thing licked. But I do think, just in casual conversation, that's in the backs of people's minds. Once the lockdown ends, the lockdown will end when there's no more danger. But that's not possible, is what you seem to be saying.
No. I mean, I think the way you formulated it is exactly right. I think in the back of people's heads is this idea that somehow we can eradicate the disease if we just stay locked down. That is not possible, right? It's the serologic evidence, and even the MLB study suggests this. That it suggests that the epidemic's too widespread to eradicate. It spreads via asymptomatic contact, like people who don't have very many symptoms, just even mild cold symptoms can spread the thing. They're not going to show up for testing. They're not going to show up in a hospital. They won't go to a doctor. You won't know that they're spreading the disease. I mean, just in LA County alone, there's the number suggests 400,000 plus people have the disease. It's not possible to eradicate it with a lockdown, and so I think we have to come to terms with that. I think.
So can I, on this question?